The good perk. Jesse, I'm busting off the pill. Oh, this perk has me reaching for the Luger.
48 minutes of dogs barking. 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 Growl. Growl. 48 minutes of dogs barking. 48 minutes of dogs barking.
So let's do some content here because
Doing some content.
We don't want to record on Blackout Wednesday.
No.
I got some DUIs to rack up, Jason. I don't know about you.
I got shit going on. Yeah.
I got a ball of Mad Dog, some Scratchers tickets,
Let's
and
go.
And the oil change lights on.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time to make some shit happen.
Well, first and foremost, welcome to the show. It's 40 Minutes Dogs Barking. It's one of our many bonus episodes that you guys are privy to because you're just that much fun.
Is this really a bonus episode when it's really like we don't want to think up a whole other set of things and it's the holiday next week and
That's what we're calling it. We're calling it a bonus episode, right?
But listen, folks, we cut off all the fat. Yep. And we gave the savings to you, darling public.
Passing it along.
Whew. Oh, Jesus, holy moly.
Holy motherfucker.
Holy moly piss and shit.
God damn.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, what we got to talk about today, Brian?
You know, Jason, I don't know. I have been thinking about some stuff. The thing that's always getting to me, and this, I guess it's really just me, but people online don't know how to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's the main character syndrome.
It's the poster's curse. They don't know how to shut the fuck up. Some of the stuff I see people confessing to daily on Twitter or anywhere, really. Facebook's particularly bad for it, but that's just because, you know, everyone is now the racist uncle who just says shit.
Yeah.
There was somebody out there. One of the big things is also the engagement farming, which this post here, it's a bowl of white rice, and it says ketchup doesn't exist. What are y'all adding to this?
It was like I said with Rory, like, would you jack off in front of a kid if you didn't have to nut?
Yeah, well, and this one's even more fucking benign because, like, ketchup doesn't exist. I'm not putting ketchup on rice. Who the fuck do you think I am?
Honky.
Yes, but yes, and
I also have you've also thrown off the glory of your Aryan heritage for multiculturalism. So
yeah, I do that for fun though. That's just for me. I don't do that for any other reason.
I'm pretty self-deprecating, and I feel like I've said I've really bared my soul sometimes on social media. But I like to think that like there's something funny or there's something interesting there. I think some people, it's like they're kind of telling on themselves
for no reason either. Yeah, they're just like, oh yeah, my wife's gonna do this. It's frustrating me because I can't think of the exact example I was thinking of, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, there's just...
Hey, scroll back up.
Yeah.
Was that one comic, was that Barnacle Jim? It is Barnacle Jim.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this one... Oh, that's right. This didn't make the cut. So Keith Stack, one of my favorite cartoonists on Twitter... Oh, shit. We just had Rory on. We could have talked about Keith Stack. But Keith Stack, one of my favorite cartoonists on Twitter, one of his cartoons made its way to Something Awful. And the GBS... and so GBS has a thread right now of this one comic, and they're remixing it, and it's his comic is these two lesbians that live together, Leslie and Brienne, and the blonde one is Brienne, the one with the blue hair is Leslie. So Brienne is drawing something, gets so horny that she has to run off. Out of my way! I need to jerk off immediately. And so this GBS poster has made it so that she's drawing Barnacle Jim in his long fucking face. Man?
I made a great Barnacle Jim joke on Facebook and no one.
No?
You did not see it?
I must not see algorithms against me. I didn't see it.
You did not see the...
I didn't see it.
Hold on.
Yeah, please. Oh, I did have a follow up on something. Shit, see, this is what happens when I cut content for time. So here's a couple of things that I had to cut. So one of the things that I found was there was this guy. I know you've seen him foaming at the mouth in this photo.
Yeah.
Well, apparently, as it turns out, former football player, has CTE, delusions, way into QAnon. TampaBay.com telling us for the last 6 to 8 months he's been spending most of his time on Twitter. He is a digital soldier in General Flynn's army, big QAnon shit.
Yeah.
And he spends his days trying to convince others on Twitter to believe in Trump. In one episode, he believed his parents' neighbors were pedophiles who had stolen his marijuana. When his father intervened, the gentleman pushed him down and was arrested for battery on a person over 65. The charges were dropped. Now, he did then, running from the cops, barricade himself in a hotel room as deputies tried to serve him papers, and then caused thousands of dollars in property damage. He claimed people were trying to blow up the floor beneath him. He now lives in an assisted living facility. So I feel kind of bad, but he also looks unhinged, and that foaming at the mouth reaction to Trump.
It's the look on my face when I see a titty.
Yeah, actually, yeah. When it's gotta have it.
So I don't have to keep pulling this up. Here's
Please.
a Facebook
yeah, here we go.
post.
All right.
Is a picture of Barnacle Jim,
Yeah.
and it says the IDF just published this image of the Hamas commander currently hiding under Al Shifa Hospital. What a chilling gaze.
And if you've never seen this picture of Barnacle Jim, he does have kind of his eyes half lidded, and he's got this kind of dopey expression on his face, and his face is very long. It's a long
ass face.
Long face.
And yeah, also me talking about how I think Boy Genius is really overrated.
Yeah, I
mean, it's fine, but like I really
no,
do feel like
you're
it's-
not. Here's the thing: you're not wrong. You're not
I feel
wrong.
like it is music to go take a piss to.
Yeah,
because that was because I watched their SNL performances. I'm like, oh, you know, whatever. The algorithm on YouTube's feeding this to me. I guess I'll,
sure,
you know, whatever. And I remember watching. I'm like, this is fine, but I've seen this band like 50 times.
Oh yeah,
This is the band where it's like I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go out with everyone smoking and see what's going on out there, or I'm gonna go take a piss, or This is not the band I sit through the entire set.
No. Here's my problem with them. And I think I mentioned this in a comment to that post. Lucy Dacus is busy doing that and not making a follow-up to home video.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a shame, because home video is a banger of a record.
It whips ass.
It does. You've ever seen these guys? You've seen these two guys here in this little post here?
No, I haven't.
So this is a fake podcast called Built for Gamers.
What?
Yeah, so it's one of these YouTube channels where the guys are talking into mics. I think it's either Built for Gamers or Built by Gamers. Okay. And it is two dudes, and they're just talking about the dumbest shit.
Best Fortnite Islands.
Venom is canceled.
All right.
Those two are the most engagement farming motherfuckers out there. Like the video and tell us what you thought. I hate those guys. Something about the way they talk feels unnatural. It's uncanny valley time. They don't feel real. This one guy in this.
Is this a real thing, or is
Yeah.
this a bit?
You know, that's the $1 million question, isn't it?
Because if you told me that was a bit, I'd believe it. Because there's something about like everything feels off.
Yeah,
like someone's making a joke.
And I guess, boy, if it is a joke, joke's on me, I guess. I don't know, man. It's so bizarre. And it's gone around the bend where like I can't tell if it's parody anymore, because they really seem to be. They're doing a very good job if it's parody, because I cannot distinguish it from the real deal.
Yeah, that's uncanny. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable.
Because like my son, I've talked about him. He's big into YouTube and he watches Game Theory and a million other channels and all this stuff, and they sound just like those guys. So like these guys that my son watches that are
Your son's gonna learn how to like disable like a police SUV or something with a
good for him.
RF drone or something.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Hopefully.
children are our future.
Children
But,
are our future, and the future involves police officers.
You better believe that's gonna get bleeped. You kidding me with that?
Real fucking.
After hours, yeah, baby.
I only had one beer. Did I ever tell you about the time my girlfriend got me crossfaded?
No.
And I
no.
I think I just, because I don't really drink that much anymore.
Right.
I'll smoke a little bit
Sure.
because I got anxieties.
For your many maladies.
For the many things society has wrought upon me.
Right.
My little reprise, my little bit of freedom from it is sometimes smoking what they call the pen. But I think I just went between wanting to play Armored Core 6 and I think dozing off. And I was like, yeah, that's why I don't do this.
Yeah.
This is really like a me activity. This is not like another person in the apartment act. This is like, this is me like it's raining.
Yeah.
I got nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I get it. It's hard to get that kind of thing going when you're, picking kids up from school or if you're doing,
you really just can't make it a whole day commitment.
No, okay. That's part of why I'm like, I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, before I was in a relationship with my girlfriend and all that, and I was just living the swinging bachelor life. Yeah, there were days off. You know what? I'm just going to see how much cleaning I can get done.
Right.
While being incredibly stoned.
Yeah.
It was a couple times I did not succeed.
A
couple times I did all right.
Well,
I was like, I'm going to make this interesting. I'm going to put on my favorite record.
Mm-hmm.
Go and get my nice reference speakers going.
Okay.
Figure out what the food situation is going to be. Get some nice tasty treats. And that's, next 10 hours is just going to be this. It's one speed. This is a 1-speed bike, and it's awesome.
What's the Achewood line? There's going to be a sign, and the sign will be that life is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's accurate. Yeah, because, man, boy, I'm trying to think of the last time I got good and proper crossfaded. I think the last time, Jesus wept, Lake of the Ozarks. It was a friend of mine's bachelor party. I think we started early in the afternoon, and then we got to, sun went down, so it must have been, 6 or 7, because this had to have been before daylight savings. So, but we're out there just on this little deck looking out over the lake. And then someone approaches me with brownies. I said, okay, all right, let's do this. Let's do the brownies. And then someone hands me something else. And there's this. And that. And one of our friends wasn't there, and apparently I had nothing but shit talk to say about this guy. So I spent the next 20 minutes just reading this guy the riot act, even though he wasn't there. And then passed out watching Heat. And that was about.
Wow. Yeah. Started off strong and ended.
Right.
It's like the rocket you put together in Boy Scouts.
Absolutely.
Yours didn't even get off the launch pad.
No.
Made a lot of smoke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It just didn't go anywhere. I don't know anything about anything, right? I'm just a guy, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking party. And no, I was the first one out. So
yeah, I mean, I used to work in the Del Mar Loop, so I was so used to guys with dreadlocks being like, "Hey man, you want to buy a space cake?" I'm like, "No," because I remember one of my coworkers did that and was like, "Yeah, it was just a really good brownie. There was no weed."
No!
I was like, but it was a good brownie. But yeah, but it was like $20, man.
Shit.
I mean, I could have gone down. I could have gone to the coffee shop next door and got like a $5 brownie that would have whipped ass.
Been just as good, yeah.
Jesus. And there would have been no. Is it going to hit?
You're sitting there waiting like 3 hours, and you're like, God damn it.
The worst thing is realizing your metabolism changes, and now you metabolize edibles way quicker.
Oh boy.
It used to be an edible would take a long time to hit.
Uh-huh.
So like on my birthday, did I ever tell you about this?
I don't think
so. I took an edible before I came over here on my birthday.
Nice.
And I was like, well, I know it takes about 45 minutes or so before I really start noticing. So like, just gotta get everything done and get over here within like an hour, and I'll be tight. And it was like literally as like we were getting on your street, I'm like,
Uh-oh.
all right, parallel park. I hope the street's not too busy because parallel parking is going to be real interesting.
Parallel park.
It's like one of those things where like I'm so glad it hit right as we were like
here as opposed to halfway here. Yeah, that would have been a real.
Well, I mean, it's a short drive, so it wouldn't have been a big issue. But anyway,
still,
but
it's enough.
I'm just kind of like feeling roasted. And we're like talking. You're feeding us barbecue, which was fantastic, by the way. I don't think I've said that on mic here, but
I think you
cooked
have,
up a
sorry.
smorgasbord of delicious foods. That pork steak, all those ribs, all the burgers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Damn, man,
that's
the
that.
burgers.
That's that Marilyn, my sister-in-law's stuff.
That's the good shit, man. That's the good shit. And your lovely wife started asking me like 50 questions, and I'm like, oh no. I feel this is what must have been like, 'cause I didn't smoke as a teenager.
Yeah.
Or at least anyway where I would have gotten caught by my mom or my parents.
Sure.
Or any authority figure. I was pretty good about that.
Yeah.
This must be what would have been like when like your parent finds out you're stoned as a teenager, and they don't want to necessarily like call attention to it, but they are going to make you suffer for it.
Yeah.
And I could not keep up with like your wife's line of questioning. And I'm just like, I just want to eat food. I think I might have just turned away slowly and let my girlfriend talk, or like let like Danny or someone talk. I'm like,
boy.
I'm going to act like I'm just really hungry. I just want to eat some pork steak.
I got things going on. I'm sorry. I gotta get.
I was like, I feel like I've been found. I've been made. I'm like, I don't know. Is your wife mad that like I'm stoned around the kids or something?
God, no. That's how she acts with everyone. She's naturally curious.
And normally that's fine, but it was like one of those things where like, oh, I don't get paranoid. But that was definitely a moment where like, am I getting fucked with? Because like this is good. Yeah, this is like if she's jerking my chain, this is top tier level. Like I'm like one of those things where like just take me to jail.
Yeah.
Whatever this is,
turn myself in.
Let me just sleep it off.
No, she's just she's a very naturally inquisitive person. I think that's what makes her a good therapist, and that's what makes her good at her job. And I mean, she does have a bit of a little sister streak where she will fuck with people, but I don't think that's what that was. I don't think for that. I don't think that's what that was. But boy, that is incredibly funny.
I think the last time I got really stoned on my own, I mean, I'm a lightweight, man. Like 2.5 milligrams can fucking throw me down as far as edibles goes. 5 milligrams, oh man, it's over. Yeah. But I just did like 2.5, like half of a pearl. And I did it on kind of an empty stomach, which is I think what my mistake was. As far as like it coming on a little too quick. But just really like to summarize what happened there was I was making my girlfriend a playlist on Spotify. I started crying because I couldn't figure out which Tom Waits song I wanted to put on there.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it.
I was also in those moments while I'm realizing like this is such a roast beef moment.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Man, I can't figure out which Tom Waits song to put on for Molly. Oh man, I am the worst guy to ever live.
Yeah. Oh man.
I am not the main dude.
Not the main dude at all. Not.
I was just like, man, I've hit a not actual rock bottom, but like local.
I was gonna say,
bottom.
It's rock bottom adjacent.
This is the rock bottom for this point of my life.
Right.
Trying to figure out which Tom Waits song to put up, and then I just put like, oh no, what did Rory send us?
Oh, Rory. So if you listen to last week's episode, you heard us speaking with Rory Blake about Sinfest, one of my least favorite comics now. Used to be a favorite, and he has sent us now in the DM.
Honestly,
weirdly transphobic.
It's really fucked up, but like there's a little bit of horseshoe theory at play here, where it's just so absurd that it's like actually it kind of went around to be like, this is almost good. This is almost.
I don't know. As soon as they start showing this woman with the 5 o'clock shadow and the hairy arm saying the teeth of the Gazan devils will gnash harder.
I think if I knew it wasn't by some weirdo transphobe turfy guy, and it was just like someone who does like funny webcomics and their brain just broke because life is absurd and this world is becoming a hard question of asking, is this world worth fighting for? This was just like someone else's brain breaking, and they just had to make this as a way that they could just like go outside. I would be like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fine. But knowing this is also a series of someone's brain breaking in the wrong way.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
Because they have like these monsters under their bed and in their closets.
Yeah.
That want nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
But are still this main threat.
I think it was the Paranoid style that described it best. But yeah, I mean, like, this is right up there. You know, you could sit there with Umberto Eco and just like list the shit from fascism and just be like, yep, check. You know, it's like self-diagnosing in the DSM. You can just find the checklist and go, yep, okay, yep. Just go down the list. And a lot of fucking Sinfest comics are that, with both trans people, the Jews in quotes, and anyone he doesn't like. Federal agents in particular, because of course he thinks that every January 6th was a false flag, whatever it is. You know, like he's got a combination QAnon brainworms, and then he's got the kind of cross-pollinated with the turf brainworms. He's got the grab bag. He's kind of going for the whole thing.
And none of these thoughts, they're all fighting over like the same shitty like chicken wing bone.
Yeah,
and none of them are strong. Not one is strong enough to win.
Right. It's not even really worth it, because like it's a guy who was published in his college paper that has been having he has a tally counter on his webpage about how many days it has been since he has been syndicated. It's a major thorn in his side that he cannot get this comic syndicated. I take one look at it and I go, well, it's because it's fucking vile, but you know, like
now. If Dagwood were transphobic,
how would he even ever encounter a trans person, though? That's the thing. It's like Dagwood is so.
It'd just be a cross-dresser. It wouldn't be a trans person. It'd be a transvestite.
Right.
I mean, it would have to be like the old-timey thing, because trans people apparently didn't exist in the 60s or whatever.
Well, sure. But I was just thinking, like, he only ever interacts with his wife, his boss, and occasionally the dog.
The dog, yeah.
That's it. And so, like, when would he run?
Folks, what if Beale Bailey was trans?
Okay, all right, now we're talking.
and they just called it Female Bailey?
Female Bailey. Yeah.
Just real low effort.
Yeah. Look, we're not firing on all cylinders here.
Yeah, what I'm saying is this Sinfest guy needs to get his shit together if he really wants to play this game.
Our low-grade puns are probably funnier than anything he's done in the past month. I think my main problem with Tatsuya Yoshida, that's the Sinfest guy that we keep referring to, is that he wants so badly to be legitimate. He wants so badly to have that Bill Watterson money. He wants it so hard, but he also has this hate in his heart that he can't get rid of. And so it infects everything he's done. And it just keeps growing and growing. He does these big Sunday spreads, all as though he's intended to be in the color comics on in a Sunday paper.
Remember those newspapers?
Remember newspapers?
Remember going outside? Remember water?
Not for me.
Remember onion dip?
But he has these 4 comic layouts that he does every Sunday, and it's meant to emulate the big, you know, you'd see a big layout for something like a Calvin and Hobbes or like something like that. It's not your 4 panels or your 3 panels, but it's just him puking his bile onto the page. I guess digitally now, but you know, it's still the same idea. It's like he has to get this out. But then it never stops. It just keeps like he's been doing turf shit for years and years and years. It's never getting any better. His art is still he's a talented artist. It's just that his message is so fucking nasty.
It's really vile because it's only just a slightly more sanitized angle of like what the Stones Toss guy is doing.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Stones Toss guy has a very like internet shit poster sense of humor, which is why I think sometimes with Stone's Toss, people will like post his comics and not realize that like, oh, this is actually a terrible person.
Right.
They don't know that like actually if this. I always think the one of like the tug of war.
Yeah. You know, some a broken clock is right
Sure.
twice a day. So yeah, I have a begrudging respect for at least hitting on a salient point every once in a while. Sinfest does not.
No.
And that's the
No,
problem.
this just seems like I mean, Space Moose was syndicated.
right,
Sure.
exactly.
And
So-
Space Moose had
So-
a comic about killing a time traveler, stealing his belt, fucking yourself in the ass, and turning the world into a hellscape. And
At least that had a point of view and a joke attached to it.
yeah, well, Space Moose was great, as we have covered.
As has been established in the words of Brian Wheat, aka Leon Sumbitches,
Some bitches.
writer of Gravity Train.
Remember when things were easier? Were they
Vaguely,
ever easier?
I mean, vaguely. I mean,
Or
there
maybe
was-
maybe you just didn't like bother to be dragged down.
I think that's more what it is actually, because things
Like
know,
you had like more like, oh, things will get better. Like, yeah, shit sucks, but like, whatever, I'm young. I'm like 23, and then like now you're like in your 30s, and you're like, oh, it just never really got any better.
yeah. Because I'm thinking like, okay, I was scraping by, and I was working at the casino 3 days a week doing overnights, big bucks, and
Casino money.
no, see that's the thing. No, see, I wasn't working the cage. I was working customer service.
That's right. You had to do the cards.
I did have to do the cards
for the guys who like.
Oh, the worst people. 2:00 in the morning. The bars have closed across town. Now they're here, and they're mad because they have to go through this line to get a card. They're mad because they're not drunk enough, and they need to be drunk right now.
Yeah,
and they're gonna make it everyone else's problem. And so that was the thing, and the pay was shit, and people were really stupid, and like management just did not know how to manage, and it was a whole thing, and it just was one of those things where I'm like, you know what, I do not need this. And then I looked at my bank account and went, actually, I kind of do need this, and so I tried to hang on as long as I could. I stayed in that job well past my breaking point. I just kind of, my last day, I don't know if I told you about this. So they had this point system, and if you were late, you got a point. And if you were late 10 times, that's termination. So, I worked there for several years. I had a couple points, but every time you get a point, it took 90 days for a point to come off. And so it was an uphill battle. Like trying to get free of any of these points that you've accrued was fucking
how late
insane.
was late? Was it like late?
1 minute.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, 1 minute late, clocked in on this computer system was considered late.
Listen, we gotta separate these fucking rubes from their money.
Yeah, you gotta
can't be one. You can't be one. If you can't be here on time, you are not part of the family here at Fuck 'em and Suck 'em.
Yeah,
Here, lose all your money on the Wheel of Fortune machine. Fuck fest, Suck 'em
Right.
Fuck fest.
yeah.
All you can eat prime rib.
The worst prime rib you've ever had.
You ever had prime rib that tastes like an old dirty condom come down the Harrods, baby? That horseradish ain't gonna fix nothing.
No,
It's baked in.
yeah,
It's all the way through.
the rot is all the way through, and so I got to a point.
Oh, but they painted the sky on the ceiling because there's no windows.
That's by design. There's also no clocks.
Yeah,
And
it's called atmospherics. It's a very interesting way to manipulate people.
There's a whole subset of this kind of thing. Where,
Like once you notice, like when you go into a grocery store, that like the fresh flowers are always by the entrance or by the frozen stuff, and
Oh, yeah.
where back when department stores were a thing, like where carpet and where tile was. And,
yeah, because you're delineating like paths, and you're kind of creating this movement flow.
And the tile was also because, when women did a lot of the shopping, you wanted their heels to click so they felt powerful. But when they actually had like stop and like look through, carousels of clothes or whatever, that had to be carpeted so they would feel like they were at home.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's fascinating. That shit, sexist as hell, but it makes sense. that would be the way to manipulate someone. Would be this kind of, oh wow. Because I know, red means you're hungry or those kind of things, but I didn't think about the tile thing. Wow, that's a new one. Okay, huh. So yeah, the atmospherics and I'm trying to think of like when was the last time I was in a store that actually had decent atmospherics, and I can't think of one because like most of the places I go, I wind up going to fucking Target, and it's fine. It's whatever.
Like the Gruen transfer, which is when like you walk into a space and you're like so overstimulated that you can't like make a rational decision. And people are like, oh, that never happens to me. Like, you just don't notice it anymore.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're not immune to propaganda.
I think some of those tricks don't work anymore because some of those spaces maybe don't exist in the same way. When I worked at a fucking Whole Foods, every single time I walked through that fucking front airlock, I knew it when it was happening because it's just like, the smell, the sights. I mean, like I went to that Whole Foods I used to work at for the first time, and I want to say probably like 5 or 6 years because I had a faux job out that way, and I was on the way back. I was like, I'll fucking stop by there and I'll get like the fucking sandwich from the sandwich station. And they didn't make the same sandwich that I used to love, which was Chipotle chicken. They have something similar but different, and
boo.
It's just it's okay. It just doesn't have the same swag to it. But I might like walk into this space I hadn't been in probably since like 2016, 2017, and was like immediately hit. Like, I mean, I probably if someone came up like, give me your wallet, I would be like, yeah, sure. I was just like not just like stuff that had like memories attached to it, but just like so much at once. The smells, the colors, the sound of it, and like it's just a fucking grocery store,
right?
And one that tries to sell you this idea of conscious capitalism, which doesn't exist. But anyways, next time you go to a shopping mall, notice that like sometimes, like one of the old tricks is that you have to like turn like 3 times before you get anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's an old.
Because that's like then that kind of messes up your internal compass. It'll make you kind of discombobulated, even if you don't really notice it, and it'll make you. It's all about spending time in there. More time you're in there, the more likely you are to shop,
right?
Purchase something, so on and so forth. And I guess the modern equivalent of that is like how do you make a web page that's like sticky, or a video that's sticky, keeping eyeballs, keeping time on there.
Yeah, because the store that always turns my ass around is IKEA.
Oh yeah, and the IKEA. I mean, there you go. That's like the best
Ultra.
example.
Yeah, you've got. I have no idea where I am at any given moment in an IKEA.
I hate going to IKEA just for that because like I know what the fuck is going on to me,
right?
And I can't like get away from it,
right? Because it's baked into the whole experience, like from top to bottom, literally. If you start at the food court, because I gotta have my meatballs. But
I think I've only ever been to the IKEA here like maybe 3 or 4 times, and it has always been a nightmare. And I remember the first time I went was right when it opened, and they had like a second parking lot. Oh, and you had like walk to it, and I was like, remember like telling my friend like I feel like I'm at a refugee camp to buy like particle board furniture.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean the shelves in this room are all IKEA, and
I got a little bit of IKEA stuff. I ain't too proud of it, but
no, I mean there's a few things that they do well, but yeah, it's boy, walking through that place is just
a fucking nightmare.
Grady Hendrix did a great horror-themed novel set in an IKEA.
I can imagine it.
I think it was called Terror Store. And boy, if anything is ripe for that kind of reappraisal, the very horror of going to IKEA is right up there. So I think Grady had the right idea. Kind of surprised there haven't been more, because that's the only one that I can actually think of. I think there may have been some sort of indie film, but it's not registering. Like if I saw it, it's gone.
Sure. Mind if I interject with another criminally non-attention given Facebook statuses?
Oh, please go ahead.
Tim Dillon walking up to a microphone, reeking of sandwich mayo. Wow, I guess they should detransition Israel, huh?
Oh, edgy
Come on, that's
comics. Yeah, that's no look. Hey, Tim Dillon deserves to be taken down a peg.
I think Tim Dillon's funny. I also think he's a piece of shit. These two things,
you can hold both ideas in your mind
exist at the same time.
Yeah.
Same with Sam Hyde. I think Sam Hyde's very funny. I also think Sam Hyde's a motherfucker.
Oh yeah, yeah. Didn't we have a bit of Sam Hyde talk on the show previously? We were talking about the documentary, the dueling documentaries about.
Yeah,
Sam
I guess
Hyde.
at some point we'll probably cover that stuff.
Boy, it's just so much.
It's so weird because I think I watched the iDubbbz first.
Mm-hmm.
And what got me about the iDubbbz, because you watch the iDubbbz first, I think it's a better setup because some of the stuff that you're like, what the fuck, gets explained by the end.
Right.
And then you watch Sam Hyde's version and you get to see how he set it up and stuff. And I think they complement each other in a weird way. But the thing that always got me about the iDubbbz one is that like he's always, maybe it's just like me being an asshole and how I grew up. But like, yeah, Sam's fucking with you the whole entire fucking time. Sam also seems like he wants to be your friend in some weird way. There's a lot of stuff where if Sam was just going to like fuck with him, like it would have been a much shorter thing.
Yeah, he would have gotten the gist and walked out.
Yeah, but there's like a lot of like Sam also being like, I'm fucking with this guy, but I also kind of want him to hang out. And it doesn't seem like for the bit entirely.
It's so hard to nail down guys like him. Like, what is he actually about? Is he just having fun telling us all whatever we think about him already? Or obviously he's never going to give you a straight answer because that's the joke. That's what's funny. But it's also seeing iDubbbz come into this and seeing his reaction, but also kind of knowing that like, yeah, this guy, this is a put on, man. You cannot possibly think this is serious.
I think iDubbbz bought it.
Did he?
I think he bought it because, like, you know, like the fake girlfriend. There was like a point where he's like almost like he's trying to get her out of like a trafficking situation.
Oh yeah,
and like all of his friends, they're like the fake crew.
Yeah,
I mean, I think he's bewildered by it and he's trying to understand it, but I don't think it's not until the very end when I think Sam is like, yeah, this is like all bullshit, bro. That I think like iDubbbz really understands what's going on.
Okay.
That's my interpretation of it.
Makes absolute sense because it does feel like that. I also feel like he should know better. I don't know.
Right.
There's a bit of disbelief that I have a trouble suspending about stuff like that. Guys like Sam Hyde or Nathan Fielder or whoever, how much of it is real? Right? But how much do they know that you know that it's not real? Kaufman set this up, but they're taking it somewhere completely different. Even John Wilson, even the How To show, like, okay, there was this big reveal in the third season of it. If you've never seen How To with John Wilson, rectify that immediately. I'm going to do a brief little bit of spoilers. Doesn't matter. Show's great. This will affect your enjoyment of it. None. There's an entire episode about like I think it's like How to Disappear, if I remember that one, or something. One of those, where he winds up befriending this guy, and then through a series of, I can't even remember the exact series of events that happens, but then he, like, the car blows up, supposedly with this guy in it, for the show. And then a couple minutes later, we get the big reveal that no, the guy was in on it. This was done with the help of an effects crew. We did 3 reshoots with this car. And it's just like, okay, well then how much of the rest of what I just watched was staged? You know, like how
deep does it go?
Right. And that's part of where I'm like, okay, it's great, but also how much are you fucking with me? And honestly, I don't even know if I want to know the answer.
Yeah. I mean, that's like you said, that's the challenge with guys like that, or like people like Eric Andre.
Yes.
I would even say like Tim Heidecker.
Right, yeah, because he spent so much time doing the Tim Heidecker character.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, how much of this is actually what Tim thinks versus Tim the character? He'll never come out and say, "Yeah, that was just I'm just I mean, maybe he will. I don't know. But I don't really listen to like Office Hours, which is the podcast he does. But I get the feeling, just from the output that I've seen, like on cinema and everything like that, like Greg Turkington for years denied that Neil Hamburger and he were the same person.
Oh yeah.
So
I met Greg Turkington and like tried to ask him about the big ball. And mind you, this is Greg before a show,
right?
And we're just shooting the shit.
Yeah.
And he's actually like he's a little weird,
yeah,
but he's also like a very sweet person and seems like the kind of guy that will make time for anyone that appreciates his craft.
Sure.
Even if he can only give you 5 minutes, he'll give you 5 minutes.
sure.
That's the vibe I've always gotten off of him. But like I'm just asking him, like, this is like 2010, 2011.
Okay.
And so I'm like, what was the big ball? And he was like, well, it was like this, we had like this muscle lady who was like our Vanna White. And he tried explaining it to me. And it was so weird, but you could tell like he didn't really, what was the difference between him and Neil Hamburger? Because I was asking him a Neil Hamburger question, but he was Greg.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like he kind of answered the question like enthusiastically, but also like I was kind of also like stepping on his foot. But it was also weird that he's just like bullshitting with people after the show as Neil Hamburger, but talking as Greg.
Yeah, he dropped the voice and he did.
Yeah, and he's kind of doing it. He's fucking with he's yucking up things,
sure,
and doing things for emphasis, but mostly just kind of talking like how we are. I think some people are so protective of their persona because it's something they've crafted, or it's there's a financial or an artistic incentive to keep that distinction. I
suppose, yeah. I mean,
fucking Andrew WK, when he played the Firebird, would not come out of the green room because he didn't want to talk to anyone. Like, and I think it was because he did not want to like.
He didn't want to disappoint someone.
I think one, he didn't want to fucking deal with a bunch of fucking drunk idiots. It was one of the worst crowds I've ever been a part of. Was Andrew WK at the Firebird like 10 years ago. Like he like would not leave the green room after. Like I think he stayed in the green room from like the second doors opened, and then came out to perform, went back into the green room, and just like sat there. And I remember kind of like people who worked at the venue and stuff were like hanging around and just like wanted to get like something signed or just like say hey. And it got to the point where like this guy is like going to stay here till like 3 a.m. until like the promoter tells him
everyone's gone. Yeah.
And I was like, all right, Steve Mike, fucking poser. I wanted to talk to him so I could ask him if he was Steve Mike because I'm an asshole.
Well, I'm talking about public personas. I mean, Dwayne Johnson, everybody calls him The Rock. Everybody.
Yeah.
It's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. The Rock's a character that he created for Vince McMahon. That to me is like, wow. Either The Rock was such a beloved character, or the power of this belief that there was a distinction between the two is so strong. Because obviously he does not act like The Rock when he's in a movie, right? No. But he's billed as. That's what's so interesting to me. He's not trying to bill himself as Dwayne Johnson. It's Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
So I see what you're saying, but my understanding that part of that is because of the contract that individuals like John Cena and The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin have with Vince McMahon with the WWE.
Okay. So that's more of a business decision. Okay.
I think some of that is like how like Stone Cold Steve, because it's not Steve Austin and Jason X, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin and whatever stuff that Stone Cold was in as a movie, as an actor. And I think it was Dwayne The Rock Johnson for as long as it was. And I think sometimes it is. I think sometimes it isn't. And I think it really depends on whether or not Dwayne Johnson is under contract with the WWE. And sometimes he's out of contract and sometimes he's in contract. Because I think if he's in contract and he's doing performances like that, he has to give a kickback to Vince in the WWE.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a really fucking insane clip of John Cena on Howard Stern's show from like 10, 15 years ago where Howard Stern's trying to wrap his head around the fact that, like, okay, but you do this stuff outside of the WWE, but yet you're still giving money to the WWE. And he's like, well, you know, they built me up and they gave me this opportunity, and like, it just absolutely fucking full boot in his mouth.
Yeah.
You know?
Cena's a company man. I mean, that's...
And, I mean, spoken like a man who would not recognize the independence of Taiwan.
Right. Yeah, he had to apologize. And
God, the fake subtitles.
Oh.
I have been executed by the state.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate to say it, like, the accent that he's affecting, it sounds like a come town bit.
Yeah, it sounds like someone trying to be
Like
transgressive and weird.
It sounds like your racist aunt talking about someone she saw at the grocery store.
Yeah, but apparently his accent's spot on.
Someone had to be like prefaces it with like they were speaking their moon language.
Oh boy!
Oh, yeah, you're like, oh, we're getting some old timey stuff here.
Old time
Classic intolerance,
racism classic. The original formula.
The original formula.
We tried new racism.
Back when they had asbestos and everything.
That's right. Yeah, we tried the new formula of racism, but nobody liked it, so we had to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Sorry, there are times when I don't realize what I'm saying, and then I come back to it a minute later.
The original recipe.
Yeah. I mean,
the original recipe of racism. back when everyone hated Albanians.
Just throw a dart at a map and be like, yeah, that's Albania. Sure, let's do that.
There's some guy in Bhutan.
Yeah.
Rice farmer.
Yeah.
Lives a simple, beautiful life.
Never met an Albanian in his life.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even want to hear about it.
Right.
Some guy living a beautiful life.
Yeah.
You know, something idealistic. He's trying to explain the Israel-Hamas conflict, and he's just like shaking his head. He's just like, I'm just a simple rice farmer.
Right.
I have my Datsun. That was my grandfather's. It's now my Datsun. It has over 300,000 miles on the engine. I have LCD TV. Don't need 4K. Just a simple rice farmer. And you come to me with this bullshit. You're ruining my pastoral life. And then he kung fu kicks you in the stomach, and it's just like a straight plug comes out of your midsection.
Yeah, I mean that's.
You have offended him so deeply that he's reached into his tiger magic.
Right. And it's just eviscerates you in front of your own family. Yeah, just unbelievable. You will be spoken of.
And he'll even say, if you have 3 steps to take, and then you will die.
Oh. A classic.
Even though you have a straight plug, the diameter of a soccer ball out of your midsection,
and death becomes her. You just got that big.
If you don't move, you're okay.
That's the Looney Tunes logic. Yeah.
Someone get me a chair.
Yeah.
Give me a roller chair. But you're in the rice paddy.
I like how that took a fucking left turn, and I'm just like, yeah, okay,
Yeah. The simple man you've ruined. You've brought modernity into his life, and he curses you.
Yeah. For
diluting his waters.
Yeah.
With your life of complication and sin and regret and centripetal karma that never goes anywhere. It's just the suffering, and he's just a simple rice farmer with a Datsun.
Yeah,
and you're trying to fuck up his vibe, man.
Yeah,
no cap.
This is how I feel like every time I go onto social media and discover a phrase or a thing that I was like, you know what, I didn't know this before, and now my life is full of pain.
Oh yeah, I mean I mean part of why I'm not on social media a lot right now is because of a thing that's going on in the world right now where it's like, yeah, I know this is bad. I know this suffering is here, and I'm not trying to look away from it. I just have there's a capacity
Yeah.
of what I can take.
Yeah, compassion fatigue. You've hit your limit.
Sure,
Yeah.
empathy, or just understanding that the world is really fucked up, and there's so many things being done in like our name
Yeah.
that I don't agree with, and obviously the overwhelming majority of people in this world don't agree with,
Right.
and yet it's still going to continue because we have, I had actually a high school teacher, our teacher in high school is a history teacher, and he was a young Republican, little fucking bow tie motherfucker. Definitely did not get any pussy in college kind of guy.
Okay.
Yeah, just real like pro Sean Hannity kind of dude.
Oof.
But even he said, like, again, this is 20-something years ago, was
Right.
like, what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians is not right,
Yeah.
but they are going to get away with it because of the Holocaust.
Yeah. And I'm
Because of this guilt that we have as
collectively,
Westerners.
as a society even. God, I was in college reading Joe Sacco's journalistic comic. It's one of the first times I'd seen like nonfiction in comics.
Yeah.
Joe Sacco's Palestine. Joe Sacco has gone on to do a number of other books, but boy, Palestine still just hits me where it hurts. And that book is 20-something years old. Like this is a guy, he went there and he drew what he experienced, and he interviewed people. Like he was doing actual journalism, but he was doing it in a format that maybe was not, I don't know if comics and journalism necessarily mix, but in this case it did, because it gives you, because it's one thing to have pictures, it's one thing to have video, but something about the hand-drawnness of it and this kind of handmade feel made it feel more real. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's a specific aesthetic thing, but boy, if you have a chance, Palestine by Joe Sacco is required reading, at least in my mind, because as soon as I read that, I was like, okay, yep, this is bad. What the Israelis are doing is bad, and it changed the way I perceived things. Because, I grew up as a Catholic kid. I didn't know any better. I didn't know any of this stuff.
I had to explain the whole settlers thing to a coworker this week.
Really?
He didn't understand. Like he didn't have a very deep understanding of what was going on over there. And he's like, I guess it's settling down. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
They just bombed the top half of Gaza, the northern half of Gaza. And now they're threatening to just bomb the rest of the fucking country and the kingdom come. He's like, oh, wow. And yeah, like had to explain like settlers about like how like there are parts like in like this West Bank where like, they'll fucking murder someone. The IDF will murder someone or someone will die. And like Palestinians will go to like the funeral and settlers will come in and like yeet all the Palestinian shit into the street while also moving all their shit in, and they'll come back from like a funeral or going to the grocery store, and there's just some dumb fat fuck from Long Island being like, yeah, it's my place now. Yeah, I'm real sorry. But
I've seen that guy.
There's other people out there that don't understand this conflict on some level other than like Hamas is bad or something, or like, oh wow, it seems real ugly over there. Like I went to school with a young woman who was Palestinian.
Okay.
And like every other summer, she would go over and visit family.
Sure.
And to show you how long ago this was, you could just kind of like, I think Palestine still had an airport. I don't think Israel had bombed that into desolation yet. As you do as a young Palestinian girl, you kind of want to go shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And so her and a family friend that was also her age would go to the shopping mall that was on the other side of a security border.
Okay.
And my classmate had a big fucking mouth. She did not take shit from anyone. I got in her crosshairs a few times growing up. And I was like, yeah, immediately staring at the floor. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Like she did not take any shit.
A commanding presence.
Yes. They're trying to get through this border or the security crossing so they can go to like this shopping mall or something in like Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or whatever. Because even me as an ignorant American can't remember what fucking town it was.
Okay.
But this young IDF soldier is giving them shit. And my classmate is like, kind of, I guess, maybe forgot where she was a little bit. And starts mouthing off to this IDF soldier. And the IDF soldier is, you want this? You want me to fuck you up? Blah, blah, blah. And she tells the IDF soldier, no, you fucking kill me. I don't give a shit. And the IDF soldier looks at her and he takes out his sidearm and kills her friend, shoots her point blank in the head.
Jesus fuck.
And she told that in speech class, senior year. And I was like, oh, I'm telling stories about being a mall rat. And other people are, one girl's about how she's the unrecognized bastard child of like the best bowler in the world or something. Like all of these like really weird stories going the gambit of ups and downs and seriousness and unseriousness. And everyone's just like, oh, wait, that's what's going on? Like literally like people are like, wait, that's what's going on over there?
Yeah. And I think that's by design. I think there's a certain amount of willful ignorance on our part as Westerners. Sure. And I think that there's also a certain amount of not correcting us that happens elsewhere as well. Like, oh yeah, everything's fine. And they go, yeah. Well, let them think that. We're going to do whatever. There's just a whole cottage industry, basically, of, let them be ignorant and we'll do this.
Sure. Tell you how old this story is. Like, I don't think you could kind of like, I want to go shopping over in Israel as a Gazan or as a Palestinian. I don't think that's really been afforded to the average individual in the West Bank or in Gaza for about 25 years. That's to tell you how old that story is. Because now it's like, I don't think there would even be a face-to-face interaction. I think they would just probably shoot you in the leg with one of those flower bullets or whatever they're called and
right.
cripple you.
Right.
I've heard this a few times. My brother has told me this before, but we got our dystopian future. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you're the only guy in the cool parts.
Right.
And I've heard this quote being thrown around a couple different ways over the last month or so. I don't know who it's attributed to, but it's kind of stuck with me. Is that like the apocalypse is here? It's just not everyone's experiencing it. And I think you look at places like the Middle East, and that is apocalyptic.
Yeah.
That is dystopian.
Oh yeah.
It just hasn't reached here yet.
Emphasis on.
I mean, in a way it has, because a lot of the stuff that I experienced when covering Ferguson, through the St. Louis County Police, through Highway Patrol, through all of the fucking pissant municipalities that make up St. Louis County, a lot of those tactics were taken from police officers that had gone and trained with the IDF.
Mm-hmm.
I know St. Louis County and St. Louis City Police, Metro Cops. I think both, if you go on their websites, maybe they've taken it down now, like post Ferguson, but used to like brag about being accredited by the Israeli, Defense Force and stuff like that. And when Ferguson was occurring, when it first started, a lot of the advice that protesters and press got on social media were from Palestinians dealing with their own experiences with the IDF.
Yeah. So here's how to avoid tear gas. Or
here's how to protect yourself from tear gas. Here's this. Here's that. Here's how to avoid getting kettled and things. Like things of that nature. I mean, the first time I was tear gassed, I think that was on West Florissant. Yeah. By the Westfall Shopping Center.
Oh man.
Yeah, right there by the Emerson.
Yep. Emerson Electric. Yeah.
Yeah. I got tear gassed and I got like a canister laying right by my feet, and I was running away. Someone put something over my mouth so I could breathe easier, and we got separated because of all of the shit going on. And I'm able to get away. And the thing about tear gas, you've never been tear gas, it sucks shit, but it eventually, once you get out of it, after a couple minutes, you're okay. The long-term effects can last for days, but as far as like being able to like
breathe
yeah. And like have motor function and be an active participant in the situation around you, like getting the fuck away from whatever bad shit's about to go down. You got a couple minutes of a real hell world of your mucous membranes just pissing and shitting, and then like eventually like you get your eyesight back. And I can't tell you how fucking weird it is to get tear gassed and not be able to see and be crying and be snotting everywhere and dribbling, and then you're able to get your eyesight back. And then you realize like that orange thing was a cop car that was on fire.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that was the night that Darren Wilson was acquitted. But anyways, I had realized that like I looked at this big wad of cloth that I had clutched over my mouth, and it was a Kiefa.
Huh.
So I still have that. I think it's probably still got tear gas in it.
Sure.
What we are seeing going on there, on some level, if we don't stand up to it internationally or regionally or however you want, if we don't put our foot down as people, that's not acceptable, that's barbaric, this genocide, this oppression, this open air concentration camp, the settler colonialism,
apartheid, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever you want to fucking call it, that's going to come to us. Like I said, just describing Ferguson,
right,
and all that, it's already bits and pieces,
right,
but wholesale, if we don't, the powers that be, and I'm not trying to sound like some fucking Dale Gribble motherfucker, but it's true, the powers that be will be like, oh, okay, because the Israeli Defense Force uses Gaza, uses the West Bank, when they fire, they use it as a test bed for testing weapons.
Right.
The craft brewery of suffering.
Yeah.
It's artisanal.
Right.
It's
handmade.
Artisanal suffering.
Small batch, handmade.
I used to always think I worked at this place where we had techs that would go around the world fixing these machines that we made. And I remember my boss, who was this, for the long-time listeners, this is the job where the boss, who I'm about to describe, someone came up to him because a coworker cut his finger off in the machine. He goes, "Find someone else. I'm busy."
Oh, yes.
This is that job.
All right.
Right-wing motherfucker, had like a fuck your feelings shit.
Yeah, classic
kind of guy.
Yeah.
Fucking had gout. He was telling me one day about how he loved going to Israel to work on machines because of all the like hot women that were like in like like it was like this one of those things like, yeah, but think how much of your tax money, like that's your like
you paid for that.
These chicks won't even look at you,
right? And
their whole entire life is funded basically by our tax dollars.
Yeah,
like you're a cuck. Absolute fucking cuck. You are a cucked patriot.
Cucked by the IDF.
Yeah,
I got a new romance novel I'm working on now. Apparently, with that
IDF,
title.
IDF won't suck me. IDF won't suck me off.
Oh.
Zionism makes the world an unfriendlier place, a more destructive place.
Especially Christian Zionists. Those people are the weirdest ones.
Oh, they're fucking crazy.
It's all end times prophecy, reading Revelation shit.
And the Jewish Zionists, some of them are more than happy to play their part in that narrative because it's like, yeah, we'll take your fucking money. Or like,
I was gonna say, yeah, whatever gets some support. Yeah,
sure. Yeah, it's this real fucking Ouroboros of suck.
Yeah, nastiness.
Just that way of thinking adds so much suffering to this world that doesn't need to be here. Not to fucking preach, but
look, hey, you're not wrong.
It makes things harder for non-Zionist Jewish people, non-fundamentalist Jewish people. It makes things harder for normal-ass people who are just normal-ass Muslims.
Right.
Just people that are just lunch pail-ass motherfuckers. Just
right.
People that want to have a normal life with a sense of dignity and purpose. something malleable, something real, and they're living in an apocalypse.
Yeah.
This is, for some people in Gaza right now, this is the end times. How does it get better? Because you've already had half of Gaza, fucking destroyed by bombs and missiles and rockets, and if they're pushed into Egypt and Jordan or however it goes, from what there?
Yeah.
Because it already seems like they're trying to eradicate as many Palestinian bloodlines as possible, making a nation of refugees. Where do we as Westerners, where do we as Americans, where do we get to feel, where does that leave us if we're the quote unquote police of the world, the beacon, the shining city on a hill? If we allow, we already did this shit to the Indians and Native Americans, I suppose, but how do we ever get to feel like we are good and moral and ethical people if we engender this? We've been doing this in one way or another in the Middle East for 50, 60 years, sure. Mm-hmm. But this is bad.
Yeah.
And this is really bad. And we can't even get fucking Bernie Sanders to outright condemn it.
That's the part that's really thrown me for a loop. I guess it's the whole, kill your darlings, or, that kind of thing, where you're like, you know what? No, don't necessarily think that someone that you look up to on maybe one aspect is going to necessarily always have the right answer or whatever. But
sure.
At the same time, there was, during the many campaigns that we've kind of followed with Senator Sanders, this feeling that he understood at least something about alleviating suffering, and so, like, yeah, what?
Just not over there, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Which is how I feel a lot of vaguely left of center people, is that, you could still be a nationalist in many different ways.
Oh yeah, nationalism isn't necessarily always a negative.
Yeah, it's not always going to look authoritarian. It could also just, sometimes it is turning a blind eye to the ugliness of the world.
There's also something to be said for a nationalism that's built on a hopefulness. And I always thought, up until 2010, I thought that was possible, because that's what got me.
Let me be clear.
Yeah.
I hoodwinked you.
Yep. So that's really...
I sucked off a man on cocaine.
I
got your asses.
Smoked crack.
Smoked crack. It was great.
It was great. It was great. It's
with
crack.
Jack in the Box. Got 20 tacos. Ate all them suckers up.
He even had the unmitigated gall to call his memoir "The Audacity of Hope."
Yeah.
So, joke's on me, I guess.
Yeah.
In the first presidential election that I was eligible for, I voted for Ralph Nader. So what does that say about me as a person?
Man, real hopeful.
You have to have something.
I remember the first election I could vote in was 2004.
Okay.
And I remember just thinking, like, well, John Kerry kind of sucks.
Right.
But George Bush really, that's always been like, again, it goes back to, do we want 99% Hitler? Or do you want 100% Hitler?
Yeah, I know.
I feel like John Kerry, I don't know, like, if John Kerry would have been a good president. He probably would have been an okay peacetime president.
He had no juice, man.
Yeah, but sometimes, we've had presidents with no juice.
Yeah, and they're one-termers. Sure. Jimmy Carter. Oh, HW. Come on.
Sure.
Zero Riz, as the kids would say.
Yeah. But you can have a zero risk president if he gets shit done.
These days, I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, and now we have to be. Now it's all about. It's almost like fucking branding. It's like, do you wear Tommy Hilfiger or do you wear Nautica or some shit like that?
Right.
It's
politics as a lifestyle brand. That's an interesting.
Everything's a fucking lifestyle brand. You can go to Guitar Center and pick up a $4,000 Gibson guitar and it's got a fucking warped neck.
Oh man,
even 20 years ago I worked at Guitar Center. I used to play a game of what does the custom shop Gibson have wrong with it that the $800 Schecter C1 does not. Like the Korean made Schecter, the Schecter made by the Samick factory, where they literally like you go in there and they like, okay, you want super strap body, okay, you know, and it's almost like a grading of like how nice do you want this guitar line that you're making to be.
Jesus,
it's like it's all. I mean, Samick makes good shit,
sure.
but that always used to crack me up that like this, you know, $3,200 Les Paul custom is got bad binding. The fucking logos aren't centered. Like,
oh man,
and not even a way that's like, oh, it's handmade. It's like, no, this is bad. Like this isn't like, oh, this is just like someone did this as best as they could by eye with like old school instruments or something. Like, no, this is just bad. This is being hoodwinked, because Gibson guitars have been for about 20 years like the same level of like lifestyle brand as like Harley Davidson. Anyways,
no, I mean,
but everything is image.
Yeah,
I've been actually kind of contemplating this. I haven't really gone too deep into it, but like I wonder what like someone like E.D. Borwa thought of about like AI images, because isn't that the ultimate spectacle? Is kind of like, I mean, it is a little bit masturbatory, because you're like, okay, sure. Bitcoin ape winning a drinking contest at Busch Stadium. what does the collective? What is our unconscious? What is that?
It's an image of success. It's an image,
but like but my own like curiosity with like doing AI images. Like, yes, I want Drake, you know, eating Chinese food in a bathroom.
Well, I think that's because you want to see Drake humiliated for his many crimes. So
sure, he's baby soft. I ain't got no respect for a man. There's an innate
desire. There's an innate desire to see the powerful laid low, and I think that's my favorite genre of AI is that stuff. Like I did one where it was like Donald Trump in a hospital bed. Like
Donald Trump.
It's just
Donald Trump getting the wrong order.
Just something.
But but it's like, can we get something like Puff Daddy looking the dollar bill?
I think so.
But like that thing of like, yeah, like someone so bewildered by the normalcy of something or the banality of whatever, but this is like, in a way, I think it's very much like it's staring at our own navels, because now we've created this thing that we are training on all of these images and to understand what certain images are or aren't. And then it's like, yeah, okay, I want Drake praying at a Shinto shrine with minions.
Yeah.
And I can sit down there and I could draw that. I'm not really good at freehand drawing anymore, but in theory, I could ask Rory to do that. I could ask Thor Jensen to do that.
Right.
But it's almost like you give 10 words, you're using a sentence, you're using language, and then you're asking a visualization of it. Like, I mean, that is a spectacle. It's everything that's been lived distilled in the images.
Right.
Removed from origin. Like, this does kind of feel like the end of everything.
If I'm gathering what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but DeBoard's side is spectacle is mostly with mediated images, right? I mean,
yes, it's the mediation of images removed from their like point of origin.
Okay, because I'm thinking also about like abstractions and all that stuff, and because I've noticed is that AI art, when I try to give it an abstract thought, it doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
and so like I would put in prompts that were just like names of episodes for this show.
Yeah,
and I put in like the Pickle Man tricked me again. It generated a shopkeep in like a Skyrim type of fantasy setting with a big jar of pickles. And it's like, okay, how did it get? That's the thing that interests me. How did it get from just the phrase "the Pickle Man tricked me again" to this wizard-looking dude with a jar of pickles in a fantasy tavern out of Lord of the Rings? That to me is an interesting.
Yeah, so that would be interesting to pry apart a large language model and see how it extrapolated that image from the information you gave it.
Right.
On the other side, like why it's so interesting to do someone who is incredibly well known, Taylor Swift,
sure,
Drake, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, is why the reason you get such interesting results from using people like that in your prompt is because they have been documented. They have been photographed so much. They have become part of the spectacle so much.
So they're woven into it.
They're woven. They are so now woven into this mediation of images that now we can create moderately, or sometimes even
sometimes pretty good,
pretty decent, moderate, pretty decent, sometimes even pretty good images of things that have never taken place.
Right.
Drake has never prayed at a Shinto shrine with minions.
That we know of.
He's never prayed with hype beasts in front of a Buddha statue. He's never eaten Chinese food out of a toilet. That we know of.
That we know of, yeah.
These images technically don't exist, but yet we have created them.
Yeah.
And not even by our own hands, but by...
Yeah, we've allowed a third party to kind of step in.
Something that's so alienated from its source. Yet we find it so fascinating to fuck with it. I find it I think AI, like, again, I think this is like kind of the end times for, I think, most creative fields. If they weren't already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, SAG-AFTRA and the WGA just had a 100+ day strike about it on both sides.
Yeah.
Because they can see this coming, because people are already trying to replace writers, or to distill certain jobs down and just have large language models generate content. Content. I fucking hate that word, but it's accurate because that's exactly what we're talking about. We're not talking about a thing that is made. We're talking about a thing that just exists to exist, content, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that's why a lot of this really weirds me out, because if I wanted to, I could sit there and plug in our voices, type out an hour and a half worth of nonsense.
And it's just us saying, I'm gay. I'm gay.
Yeah, in varying different tones for an hour, and then
my dick doesn't work. I'm gay.
Yeah. Or having us just like read out the Wikipedia entry for, I don't know, the Battle of Luxembourg,
the Light Brigade or something.
Something. Yeah, anything. Yeah.
Olestra. But this is. I feel like we are entering a world where everything is empty calories.
Oh, I don't think we're entering. I think we've been in there for a while.
I mean, like, it's really here now. I think we're pretending we weren't, but now it's undeniable.
You'd have to go back to the 60s and 70s to find something that wasn't necessarily empty calories, and even then it was probably sponsored by fucking Colgate. So, I mean...
Wig out on the Colgate Hour.
Yeah.
Iron Butterfly with polyester pussy pants. I don't know.
Sure, why not? If there isn't a song out there called Polyester Pussy Pants, well...
A guy in a narrow jacket eating... This is a new Andy Warhol... I could create an Andy Warhol film that doesn't exist. Okay. And it's just an AI image of a guy in a narrow jacket just eating a regenerating peach for an hour.
And you know what? Someone's probably already got a prompt ready to go.
Yeah. Well, it's like that fucking Beatles music video.
Yeah. Gee, we didn't get into that. Yeah, did we? Yeah.
Oh, 2 weeks in a row we didn't go into it.
But I have.
I showed it to my girlfriend, and she's like, the song's whatever. I'm like, but this music video is a sin, like, against so many things.
I've always.
It really was like they dug up John Lennon and shot him again.
That's what I've always felt about, like, putting dead actors into movies and stuff, and like Peter Cushing, when they did that Rogue One scene with him, and like, we're pushing it here. Like The Flash, I saw it over the summer. The Flash has a scene with George Reeves in it. George Reeves, the guy who killed himself because, playing Superman was just fucking with him. And they digitally put him in the Superman suit and had him like, hey, buddy. They had Nick Cage, who was never actually in a Superman movie. They had him come in for a day. They shot a bunch of stuff with him. And then they didn't use anything they shot. They CG'd it into him doing something that he never did on set. And he said this in an interview later.
I think, and then, like, Tim Burton's pissed.
Well, yeah, because that was Superman Lives. That was his
movie.
Yeah.
That was his concept. That was his pitch. And also he's pissed because they use his Batman.
Yep.
And I've watched a couple of clips of all that on YouTube, and I'm like, wow, this is bad. Like, this isn't like, and it's not even like interesting, like the Flash is like moving through this space is literally going from one, like it's going from TV screen to TV screen.
Yeah, and that's how it's presented too, as though the Speed Force isn't something metaphysical, but is instead its own mediated reality that is only concerned with things that you've already seen,
which feels like consumable images.
No, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
yeah.
Which is a fucking really lame way of explaining or interpreting or expressing this metaphysical concept that could be interesting.
Well, yeah, because even in the Flash TV show, the Speed Force is represented as this kind of nebulous interzone between time and space. It's literally, you have gone so fast that the rules and the laws of nature no longer apply. But how do you represent that on screen?
One, the fuck Supergirl.
Well, that's not a.
I want to take Supergirl and remove her from her family setting and allegedly abuse her and then return her and then go to a movie premiere.
There was a point and I've lost it, but the how do you represent that? And so the producers
moving really fast.
How do you represent that? And the Flash?
Wait, so is the Speed Force Omegle?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. So, how do you represent that on film, right? So their concept was, instead of
Ezra, this is all of the dick pics in history,
right? Instead of Dr. Manhattaning it and trying to figure out a way to like look at time as something.
From where I was standing, he was practically nutting.
What they did instead was they showed time as like a series of home movies, and this is where I'm getting. I'm coming to a point that they showed time as like a series of home movies, his memories with his family, right? But then when time starts fucking up, it's not memories of his family. It's not memories of things that he's experienced. It's these things that he hasn't. But like you said, they're presented as though they're reels on a film going by. That's kind of odd, because it's like, okay, you've broken reality, but reality is now represented in this metaphor by film, like the film you are showing us. There is no clear point of view here. We don't know, like, does he recognize these people? You don't see Ezra for like the full 5 minutes of this sequence.
Yeah.
When they're showing all these other possibilities of Superman and Batman, whatever. They even used old footage of Burt Ward and Adam West, and I'm sure the estate of both of them was very unhappy with that. And Christopher Reeve as well. They put him on somebody who, standing. What is this supposed to mean in the context of this movie? There isn't one. What they're showing you is for you, the audience, not for the character that, you know what I mean? You've now removed, fourth wall doesn't exist. Fourth wall is gone. We've completely demolished it. They're literally jingling keys in front of your face and going...
it's insulting.
Yeah, there is a point at which it's like, okay, what the fuck? Who is this for, number one?
Yeah.
And then the other one is this supposed to be enjoyable? Because generally the answer is no. Like...
Because not to use the phrase, but it's fucking navel gazing. Because like at least Batman, if you took all the Batman shit out of it, you would still have the bones of a pre-decent noir film.
Sure, obsessive rich guy who's
like it's not really. You could take away all of that set dressing, and still have a treatment that would work for anything else.
Could be a decent thriller.
Instead of what if Batman meets Seven and it's pretty above average,
right?
But yeah,
who is it for? That's really who is it for?
It's for 50-year-old guys that go, oh, I get that. Jay Freeman of I don't even know television.
Yeah.
R.I.P. to that show. I remember him posting when we were Facebook friends still about how Doctor Who is for people that love to edit Wikipedia. It's for people to be like, I understand it better than you. I understand this. Like, it's for people that have decided to fulfill or fill the emptiness in them with useless knowledge.
It's filling out a spreadsheet in lieu of a personality.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like a lot of the more recent Marvel stuff has been. It's just like we're ticking off boxes. Yep, we got this guy, we got this guy, we got that guy.
The movies are bad. Like they were, some of them were fun, but generally not very good, and they made a shit ton of money. But I think people now have wisened up.
One can only hope.
Well, I mean, that Marvel's movie is completely bombed. I heard it looked like shit. Like, I mean, like I can't remember which Marvel. Love and Thunder. Or like, this was like a $200-300 million movie.
Yeah, you'd said that at the time.
This looks like Bible Man.
Yeah, you really don't feel the money on the screen, as it were. Yeah, what are you getting in return? And then you're getting, television shows of varying quality.
WandaVision was okay.
Loki was great.
I actually am looking forward to watching season 2.
Yeah, I mean, as am I. A large part of that for me, though, is, of course, Hey Kwan. Just getting him on that was like, yep, you're guaranteed I'm going to see anything he's in. Of course, I'm going to watch it. And how much of that is because I'm nostalgic? Who knows? I think a good part of it is also that I enjoyed him so much in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
With WandaVision and Loki, that the foundation for both of those experiments, both of those shows, is like some old school like comic book writing.
Yeah, it does.
Where someone really thought maybe a little too hard about the ramifications of things and kind of made this very precious, encapsulated story. And I feel like what makes, like, I wish WandaVision kind of more spoke onto itself instead of having to bring in all of these other loose things. They're then supposed to play out in movies I don't think are ever going to get made now.
Right.
Like the fake Vision.
Yeah.
And things like, it's like, I don't even like comic books that much.
Right.
But it's just like, I guess it's part of the zeitgeist, and you want to feel like you can at least understand what people are talking about sometimes, so you interact with it a little bit. But like, WandaVision sounded like it had an interesting hook, and it did. It had some stuff that wasn't great, but I think it was more successful than it wasn't. And Loki is just like, oh, this is fun. Like, everyone's chewing the fucking scenery. It's creative.
Great. Let them do a hangout show for, 10 hours.
Yeah. And like, did interesting shit, was creative in ways that none of the other Marvel shit was.
Yeah, I really do feel like a lot of their talent has moved to the television side. Combined with like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, I've always felt that the televised output, because it's serialized and because it has that same kind of affordance that you can have with a television show, felt more like comics than a film. I've always kind of stuck by that, which is why I appreciate that the Boys adaptation is a series as opposed to trying to squeeze all that into a film. Any time that something like Invincible gets adapted, that also feels right as a series because the comics have a certain flow to them and the show does as well. So yeah, I think as far as like any kind of genre stuff that's long form, I always feel like you're going to get more out of it, especially if you're adapting something that is itself very long.
Yeah.
So go. Loki season 2 is available on Disney. No, I'm sorry. I can't even. We do all that talking about commercialism, and then I go into a plug for Disney Plus. There was a point, and I've completely lost it.
Eat piss, shit come.
Indeed. Well, that is about the time of the show where we tell you.
We've got to go back to looking for those tunnels.
We're gonna find them one of these days.
It's November 24th, 1962. I'm in my goon cave, jelking. Janie says she doesn't recognize me anymore. She looks like she hit the wall.
Dr. Manhattan was an incel. I love it.
Dr. Manhattan was just
an incel gooner. No, I love it. This is about part of the show where we tell you where to find us online. Brian, where can they find you on the old internet?
If you want to send me death threats, tennis shoes, and all that, you can
send him your finest used underwear via this.
Wash them first.
No, why would you? The whole point is that they're dirty.
I never understood that.
It's the smell.
underwear.
It's just the smell.
stank?
It's the smell. Yeah.
It's a smell.
Yeah, it's a smell thing.
It's a smell. I don't know if I have that smell thing then.
Hey, different strokes to different folks. Anyway,
Sure. I guess I just gotta go out and get some used underwear.
really get a whiff.
Gotta really get in there.
Got
Getting kicked out of the YMCA. Again.
yeah. I was gonna say post gym day. Anyway,
Anyways, if you want to harass me online, you can find me on social media, on Threads, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Blue Sky. At iShotGuideboard, ISHOTGUIDBORD. If you want to check out my photography portfolio, it's assholemusicphotographer.com. You want to see some photos and words together in perhaps a vaguely childish photojournalistic sort of way. That's musicphotographer.com. If you want to check out the last, only, and greatest media website in St. Louis, that's theartsstl.com. Got some good stuff up on there and some good stuff from some other talented folks in the area. Mm-hmm. Jason, where can they tell you to stick it up your ass?
oh boy, you can do that on Twitter.
Fuck you, Baltimore!
Yeah, exactly. You can challenge me to pissing anytime at Videocrime, VIDEOCRIME.
Check burn out bouncer, you're a dead motherfucker!
We'll fuck your wife, and
Right, we'll fuck your wife!
I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna get through this section. All right. So various other places you can find me: Twitter, whatever he said. You can reach out to the show, 48minutesdogsbarking.com. Our email addresses are as follows: Jason at 48minutesdogsbarking.com, Brian with a Y at 48minutesdogsbarking.com. Give us a call, 314-24...
Folks, you gotta send me that Daniel Pearl video.
Still waiting. Give us a call. Give us a call, 314-246-9766. That's 314 AHOY POO. And don't forget, support the show, patreon.com/48minutesofdogs. Whoo, boy. What a show. We love talking about whatever the fuck we just talked about.
I want to leave you with one thought.
Yes.
From the river to the sea, go see will set you free.
Hey, there it is.